Principles of sports nutrition.
Energy medicine, sometimes known as energy therapy, energy healing, or spiritual healing. These are all branches of alternative medicine that are highly controversial and subject to ongoing debate as to their validity and application. There are those on one side who are extremely committed to the application and recognition of energy healing as being valid, and these include physicists and biochemists and doctors and natural healers and, of course, large numbers of the public. On the other side, there are the critics, the naysayers, the poo-pooers who say it's all mumbo-jumbo and none of it has any value, and that is because the people who think that all or some of it is true cannot sustain the non-believers with any of the mechanical-like reductionist view proof or evidence. Those against complementary alternative medicine therapies with specific reference to Reiki or homeopathy, touch therapy, Qigong. These people are also made up of physicists and biologists and biochemists and conventional physicians. So on each side of the camp, you've got well-educated individuals, and all of which are human, and all of which are affected by their own unique settings and upbringing and culture and tradition. At the end of the day, we're still left with one huge problem, and that is, besides the positive effect of the therapy, which in many cases you cannot argue with, there is no evidence or means of determination of whether or not the therapy itself had anything to do with the healing, or whether or not the person was just healed by suggestion or a psychosomatic effect, or what is known in science as placebo. The placebo effect is well known, it's well regarded. In fact, it's such a strong player in medicine that some physicians do play a suggestive role with purpose to transform or change the patient or client, knowing that the actual therapy that they employ or suggest is not going to do much, but possibly their suggestion or the way they treat the individual or how they maneuver and play out the hand of health and life and medicine. This is all part of what we are and who we are. Humans are emotional creatures. We have intellect and rationality, and we all like to believe that whatever it is that we're doing or whatever it is that we believe in has significant value, even when there is no evidence to support our position. And what I mean is repeatable evidence, evidence that an outside party, a third independent party can evaluate and agree upon and then repeat through experiment and see whether or not the actual therapy suggested, whatever it might be, is repeatable and valid and has the same effect or outcome. And yet we still have 7 billion individuals, each with their different unique architecture of their brain, 100 billion neurons. Consciousness is not well understood. There are many elements of life and humanity and the human condition that are not well understood. And how much of what plays a role in getting well? We're not talking about being infected with bacteria causing cholera. We're, in this case, trying to bring into play a form of natural healing or medicine that the client or patient is attracted to, and also the healer, the practitioner, the doctor enjoys participating in and providing. One of the reasons I like to focus initially on sport training and physical training and skill training for sport and in the gym with weights and measures and sets and reps is because it's very straightforward. You can measure pretty much everything. You can see what effect it's having. You can measure performance by simple technology. Also, with nutrition, you can make a change. Carbs, fats, proteins, the amount of each, You can increase the amount of a mineral, a nutrient, even a botanical medicine, and you can calculate, determine in advance, and follow the path and see whether or not it's having any effect at all. And there's lots of data, lots of clinical data, lots of research going on in the field, and yet it still comes through that there is some sense of vagueness regarding the human body and the mind that controls it. Our mind is in the brain, and the brain is in the head, and of course the full body is what moves it around. It's all connected. To say that one is more important than the other, well, that's fairly limited because one can't survive without the other, at least right now. So, energy medicine exists. It has a strong following worldwide. If you're a skeptic, you'll reject it. You might also, as one individual, reject the rejectors because of your own experience, which, again, pretty hard to argue with success. Ultimately, if the therapy is not harmful and involves compassion and empathy and caring, no matter how strange or bizarre, people are attracted to that, and that is their freedom. They should be able to engage with any healer, any practitioner. The rule of thumb always is based on primum non nocere, first do no harm. So because there's so many variables that are impossible to measure, we don't have computers large enough to measure all the variables statistically, mathematically, to really, from a deterministic point of view, calculate in advance whether or not one effect would have enough of an impact on an individual to lead in a guaranteed sense to a positive outcome. Because the same therapy, and even in the gym, the same exercise given to 100 individuals is going to have a similar effect but not an exact effect, and in some cases on each extreme of the continuum, some people will get no value, others will get extreme value, and in the middle, that's where you predict. So even in the field of predictive medicine, there are variables that fit in and tie in with the Heisenberg principle of uncertainty. And of course in science, nothing is certain, everything is subject to change, everything is changing, nothing is constant except change. So with that in mind, we'll just embrace the fact that energy medicine exists. It's part of the natural health industry. It's made up of many different branches. And if you prefer not to engage with energy medicine, for whatever reason, that's your right. However, I've seen people that were extremely doubtful of energy medicine experience positive benefits from something like acupuncture, which is based on meridians in the body which are impossible to identify, and qi, which is not recognized by convention as even existing. And yet you go to China or work with Chinese doctors and traditional Chinese medicine and Tai Chi and Qigong and many forms of alternative touch therapy, for example, are based on this idea that some type of energy or life force within the body is out of order, out of sync, and that the therapy brings it back into alignment, and then the person gets better or well or improves. So, is it real or is it Memorex? That's up to you to decide. I've been convinced by both parties of their position, so I'll remain in the middle, and ultimately my position is no harm equals a possibility that is beneficial to both parties, period.